Hello, everybody. I'm going to give you some time to get here into the room, and we will get started in a few minutes. The word should be going out. The notifications will be going out for you to join me here and now at 5 o'clock. Also know that many of you will be watching this a little later because it's Saturday and there's a lot of things going on. I understand that, but I want to share this information with you. I have a couple ideas that I think will be helpful to you in shifting and understanding your relationship to money, and I also have a couple things. I want to tell you about Money as My Friend, which begins on Monday, which is the next round of the 90 Days to Greatness program. So we're just going to give it a couple minutes. Sit tight, hang out, get something to drink. This will be as long as you all want it to be, because I will share some thoughts with you, but you may have some questions. I recognize that even saying the words, the term, the phrase, money is my friend, seems radical, can feel radical, can seem a little crazy even. So, you might wonder how that could be possible. How could money be your friend? When for many people, their experience with money is completely the opposite. Some might even say that money is their enemy, but we know in truth there are no enemies. So we could talk about that as well. Hey everybody, let me know where you're connecting in from. So you can type in the chat a hello, a wave, a emoji, a heart, whatever it may be. Show some love. I know we have people connecting in from all over the planet. So tell me where you're connecting in from. Hey, Akali. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. I'm going to give us just one more minute and then we'll get started, because I value your time. And so those of you that are here on time, we're going to maximize that time. All right, so as we always do, hey Nancy, I see you jumping in here. As we always do, we're going to start with prayer. And so right here and right now, I invite you to relax. Right here and right now, I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose, and exhale out through your mouth. And we take another deep breath in, and we release. And for a third time, centering ourselves into consciousness, we breathe in, and we breathe out. There is one mind, there is one power, there is one presence, there is one good, there is one God working in all, through all, and as all. I know that this thing that I call God, that I call the good, is known by many names and is not requiring us to call it anything specifically, but we are always admonished to acknowledge its presence, to acknowledge its omnipresence, to acknowledge its ever-presence, to acknowledge its omniscience and its omnipotence. For we recognize that you, Mother, Father, God, are everywhere at all times. We recognize that you are constantly encountered. We recognize that you are not just powerful, but you are all power, every expression of power. All the power there is in the universe to accomplish anything is you. And as we recognize this, we stand in the grand realization and the beautiful feeling of this power that permeates our very being. It is the power that empowers us to be living beings. It is the power that empowers the beating of our heart. It is the power that empowers the flow of the blood through our veins. It is the power that empowers the vibration of our vocal cords that creates sound in, through, and as us. It is the power that empowers the electrical signals that are moving and sparking within our brains. It is the power that empowers the conversations between ourselves. It is the power that empowers the conversations between each and every system within our body. It is the power that empowers us to walk. It is the power that empowers us to move. It is the power that empowers us to stand. We live, move, and have our being in the power that you are, God. And as we stand in this grand recognition, we know that we are one with you. We know that all that is true of this power that we speak of here and now is true of us. We are the individualized expressions of God. We are the hands. We are the feet. We are the eyes. We are the ears of God. God is expressed through its creation. God is expressed through each and every one of us. And as we recognize that truth, our oneness with God, as we recognize this truth, the allness of God, as we recognize this truth, the infinity and eternity of God, we are recognizing the infinity and the eternity of ourselves. We are recognizing our very divinity. And as we stand in the recognition of our divinity, we know that all things are absolutely possible. And so I am grateful for each and every person that has come to be a part of this conversation, to be a part of this teaching, to stand in a new awareness of possibility in their own lives around the effect, the substance that we call money. And so it is with gratitude, it is with thanksgiving, it is with joy, and it is with a knowingness that my word never returns to me void, that I release this prayer, knowing that good and only good will come from this moment that we spend together. And together we say, amen, ashe, and so it is. And so it is. Well, hey, everybody, I see we have a few more people that have joined us. And so please, in the comments, just hello, shout yourselves out. Where are you connecting from? Rabia, I see you. So I know Chicago is in the house. I have been spending a lot of time over the past few days, Pastor Yolanda and I, with our Chicago family, those that are part of the Christ Universal Temple family, and of course my brother Derek Wells, who's the senior minister there. So we've been swimming in Chicago love over the past few days. Hey, Brooklyn's in the house, of course. Wonderful, I love it. So I want to get right into an idea about money. You all have seen this already. Money is my friend, and we're going to talk about the class and what that's about and all of that good stuff. But there's a simple and central idea that I think is radical, it's riveting, and it is also life-changing if you come to understand it, right? And it comes down to this. Your relationship to God and your relationship to money are one and the same. Now, for most of us, our experience of God and our experience of money on a surface level may not be the same. For many of you who are here and watching this, you may say, well, you know, I love God and God is good and God is good to me, but I like money. I don't necessarily love money, and money's not always good to me like I perceive God to be good to me, or money is not loving to me in the way that I perceive God to be loving to me. Money is not unconditionally loving to me as I perceive God to be. And so in order for us to understand this, there's a word that we must understand that I think is very important. Shout out to Colorado, shout out to Maryland, Bladensburg, yes, that's home, love it. So there's a word, and it's something that we talk about within New Thought all the time, an understanding of who and what God is. For so often, we may have heard it said that God is omnipresent, right? That God is everywhere. And for me, that invokes this idea of Santa Claus, right? He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. And so as children, we had this idea, this understanding that Santa Claus is watching us all the time. For those of us in this modern age, I love every Christmas when it's time for the elf on the shelf. I love watching watching my niece and nephew. As soon as they enter a room and the elf is on the shelf or somewhere in the room, they immediately start acting a little different and get a little scared, right? And that, you know, that puts us in that same vibration of understanding that, or thinking rather, that, you know, there's something that's always looking and paying attention to what we're doing. But I invite you to consider this, that God is not omnipresent. God is omnipresence. And this is a foundational idea of New Thought teaching, New Thought philosophy, of New Thought theology. God is omnipresence. What that means is that not that God, or not just that God is everywhere, but in the sense of we think of our physicality, that God is physically located or has multiple eyes and can see everywhere. But this idea of omnipresence says and suggests that God is everywhere and God is everything. As I love to say, God is constantly encountered. You just heard me speak that even in the prayer. And so what that means is that all manifested life is an expression of this one life that we call God. All manifested life comes from one mind. I say that each and every one of us and all things are God's good idea. When you think about yourselves, and when you have an idea, right, something comes to you, it's a good idea, you're like, oh, wow, You might forget about it, go on about your day, go on and do something else, but then it comes back to you like, wait, no, that really is a good idea. And you start to think about it more, and you start to think about it more, and you start to think about it more, and then you might start to write some things down, and you might start to brainstorm, or you might start to collect your thoughts. You might start to create a business plan, or you might start to think about other people that you want to involve in this good idea. And eventually, over time, after constantly contemplating this idea, you bring it into manifestation, and you're proud of it. Well, because we recognize that this is the nature of life, that all things come from mind, the non-physical from thought, and are then brought into matter and manifest in reality, we recognize then that it is the same way for each and every one of you, that in order for you to be here, you had to be thought of. And in order for you to be here, not only did you have to be thought of, but you had to be thought of with emotion. You had to be considered good. You had to excite the very mind of God. And not only did you have to excite the very mind of God, but you had to be contemplated over and over and over and thought of over and over and over again until you became the manifested being that you are. And so the truth of life is that our parents, our mothers and fathers, were sort of the last step of bringing us into being, because there is so much thought, there is so much desire, there are so many prayers, there is so much thinking in the non-physical that had to take place in order for us to come forward as manifested reality, as these unique beings that we are. And so when we understand this from the perspective of thinking about the omnipresence of God, that means that everything in life is an expression of this divine mind, right? And so when we understand that, then that must be true of money. Now, what's interesting about money inherently doesn't have any value. Money has the value that we decide it has, right? There was a time, hundreds of years ago, these little plastic cards we have with a magnetic strip would be meaningless, and they wouldn't be valuable, and we couldn't use them for anything, right? There was a time that we would have needed to have furs and pelts and skins to trade that would have been valuable and like money. I was reminded, I was hearing someone speak this week that was talking about the story of the Good Samaritan, and how you wore your clothes. Your clothes were a symbol of your wealth and your status, but literally your clothes were worth something. You could use them to trade. And so if somebody robbed you and they took your clothes, it's because they were actually valuable in the way that we think of how trading was in early America or in earlier cultures. So we recognize that money is about an agreement, and it's something that we give meaning to. Right now, it's these plastic cards with magnetic strips, right? Right now, it's also Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? Which is digital currency that will never be touched, that's never tied to anything physical. Right now, it's green paper bills and round metal discs, aka cash and coins, right? But we also recognize that even if that's true, right, my US dollars do not have value when I go to Japan, right? I have to exchange those US dollars in order to, for yen, in order to use them. Or if I'm traveling in Europe, as my daughter is now, right? Her US dollars, that cash is meaningless, right? And even when she swipes her card, there's a conversion that happens. Those dollars are converted into euros because that's the language of money that's spoken. That's the agreement, right? That's there. And so we recognize then that money is an extension of thought, right? And it's an extension of a cause that is non-physical. And so what I have come to understand when we're talking about money and thinking about money and thinking about our relationship to money and how we may or may not be manifesting the money that we want, we have to understand how to ask ourselves, like, how do we think about God? Now, I hope for many of you, as I'm seeing some of the folks that are connected in right now, Celebration Spiritual Center family, we start with this wonderful idea about God, that God is unconditionally loving, that God is unjudgmental, that God does not shame us, God does not guilt us, that God does not have a heaven or hell that it's trying to put us in. God is not a person, male or female, but contains the masculine and feminine attributes, which is why we always say mother, father God, to recognize and acknowledge that. But we recognize that God is all things. And as I often say, we have to develop and redevelop a new God concept, right? Because we were taught this other way of thinking about God that doesn't serve us. And so that requires some time for us to begin to learn how to talk about God from this place and not think that God is judging us or think that God is testing us or think that there's some kind of lesson that God has magically orchestrated so that we can be better or do better. So when we understand that, money is really the same way. Because for many of us, as we have to come to a new understanding of God and have a new conversation about God and a new conversation about who and what God is, so we must have the very same conversation about money, because we recognize what? That if God is omnipresent, then God is everywhere and everything. And so the things and the conversations and the thoughts that we have about money really are the same thoughts and conversations that we're having about God. And so for many of us, as we may have healed our old God story, for many of us, as we may have shifted our theology about God, for many of us, as we may have a clear understanding that God is unconditionally loving, a clear understanding that, as the scripture says, God's mercy or loving kindness endures forever, a clear understanding that God is not sending us to heaven nor hell, a clear understanding that God is within us. If we have that clear understanding, then all of those things that I just named to be true about God must also be true about money. But do we speak of money in that way? Take a breath, think about this. What is your regular conversation about money? Now, sometimes we might say, I need money. But if God is everywhere and everything, always present and within you, how could you need God, or how could you need money? The awareness is that we must come to is this recognition that the money is here now. Because if money is only an expression, an extension of God, just as you are an expression and an extension of God, it must be here now. You don't need money. You must come to the recognition that you are money and that you have money. Breathe that in. What are some other things that we say about money? We say, I want money, or I want more money. Well, now we're creating separation. Because here's this idea that there is no separation, the idea of God. There is no separation between us and our Creator and our source and God. And so again, as we're dealing with this idea of omnipresence, everywhere and everything, then let's talk about money from the same perspective. We're not in want of money, because we recognize that money is not something that's separate from us. We are money, right? We are wealth. We are the riches. We got to understand that. We got to know that you cannot attract what you are not. So So as we recognize if we're feeling in a place of lack and limitation, if we're feeling depleted, we have to come to this understanding that I am the money that I seek, right? That I seek with my physical eyes, but I recognize that I am already the money. And so I am now manifesting that which I am, not trying to manifest something that you're not. Please hear that, right? It would be the equivalent of trying to become a zebra. You're not a zebra. You can't become a zebra. You can keep trying to talk about, I want to be a zebra. It's not going to happen, right? But similarly, when we talk about money from this perspective, it's the same way. What are some other ways that we talk about money? I need money. I want money. Money doesn't grow on trees, which that idea is an idea of saying that money is not everywhere present. It's not always available. Right? Money doesn't grow on trees. We're confident and we understand that trees are everywhere and leaves are abundant within money. And there's the idea that if money did grow on trees, we would all have more than enough. Well, guess what? In truth, based on this little axiom, money does grow on trees, because what it's suggesting is that money is not everywhere present and readily available. But money is everywhere present and readily available. And it must be everywhere present and readily available. Why? Because God is everywhere present and readily available. It's never enough. I love that one. Thank you, Aunt Khalid. Right? This is where we get again into scarcity. There's not enough money. There's not enough for everyone. Right? But again, if God is money and money is God, because God is omnipresent, everyone and everything, then we have to understand that there must be more than enough, just as there is more than enough breath for us to breathe. So there must be more than enough money, because the breath that we breathe, the air that we breathe, the oxygen that we breathe in is God in form, is God informed as molecules, is God informed as this air. And so just as I know that this air is readily and always abundant, so that is the same truth of all manifested reality that is God. And so it must be true of money. And so money is as readily available. I affirm this every day. I live my life knowing that just like the air I breathe, there is more than enough available to me, right? I live from that place. I speak that out every day. I'm seeing another one. The more money I make, the more bills there are to pay, right? So that even gets us into the idea of more money, more problems, right? Now, there's a couple ways we can look at that, right? Because really what that's putting us into is that money is always leaving me. Money is always being taken from me, right? So that's still taking us into this place of separation, right? And that's why we love the affirmation at CSC. All the money that I use, all the money that I circulate returns to be multiplied in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. So when we stand in that vibration, we're clear that, yes, we circulate money just as we circulate air, but we remain connected to it and it comes back to us. So yes, the more money that you attract, the more money you have to circulate, and the more money that must circulate to you. So it is an absolute truth that the more you acquire, it's like to whom much is given, much is required. So the more that you acquire, yes, by all means, then the more you have to circulate. And the more that you circulate, the more that you acquire. And the more that you acquire, the more that you circulate. And the more that you circulate, the more that you acquire, right? But that's a different way of seeing versus this idea of the more money I make, the more bills I have to pay, because it brings us into this idea that money and having money and acquiring money only brings about negative consequences or negative things, right? And even that can be shifted and twisted. You know, I love Robert Kiyosaki, and one of the things that he says, although I don't fully affirm this, he says, you know, there are two types of problems you can have. Right? There's a problem of not enough money, or there's a problem of too much money. And what he's really talking about is not a problem, but a challenge, right? Because when you don't have enough money, it's challenging. When you don't have enough money, you're trying to make ends meet all the time. You're, dealing with bill collectors and all of these things, and that's challenging. On the other side, when you have too much money, right, you have to begin to think of creative ways to be a beneficial presence on the earth. You have to think of creative ways of tax strategies. You have to think of creative ways of investing in real estate. You have to think of creative ways of creating foundations and philanthropic organizations, right? And so there are two different types of challenges. And so the point that he's making there is, as you recognize that you're always going to have to make decisions and choices around money, wouldn't it be better that to make those decisions and choices around wealth versus poverty, right? And that's really what he's getting to with that. Let's see, money, my own natural energy yield. That's a great acronym, and so, you know, to the point that you want to use that, that's beautiful, and I love it from one perspective because it's the my own, right? It's bringing it back to you, which is something that's incredibly important as we think about understanding that if God is within and God is our own and we are not separate from it, so the same thing must be true of money. Understanding omnipresence, that money is my own, right? And it is endless, unlimited, always flowing. In the Tao Te Ching, it talks about the Tao or God, endlessly pulsating, endlessly creating. The spirit of the valley never dies. Well, if that is true of the Tao, if that is true of God, and if that is true of Source, if that is true of the universe, then we can say my money is endlessly pulsating, endlessly creating. The spirit of my bank account never dies, right? That's powerful. Somebody write that down because that's good. So we understand this wonderful idea that our relationship to God and our relationship to money are one and the same, because in truth, everything is God manifested, omnipresence in form. And so how we talk about money becomes critical. Again, we may have moved to this place in the space where we're talking about God in a different way, and that's beautiful. And so as you've learned to speak of God in a different way, then let's start to learn to speak of God in the form of money in a different way. First, understanding that money is an effect. In our own lifetimes, for just about all of us, we've seen the way that money is exchanged in different ways. You know, I talked Malcolm, my daughter in Finland, right? We're just doing electronic transfers. I'm using the Cash App and just sending her money. It's like, it's not even real. That's not something I could have conceived of when I was her age at 16 working. It was about cash, right? And I had a bank account, but I loved to take my paycheck on Fridays and cash the whole thing, and deposit some, but, having that wad of cash, that was important to me. Or if my parents needed to give me money, they gave me cash, right? There was no electronic transfers happening, and there, of course, were no apps and no smartphones back in the 1990s. So, we recognize that money as a form is always changing, but God as the thing that is in back of and behind this form of money is never changing, and it is unlimited, and it is eternal, and it is in full supply, and it is, again, endlessly pulsating, endlessly creating, right? So then the other thing is what we expect of money, right? Which goes to some of the things that we talked about. What do we expect of money? Do we expect money to be funny? Do we expect sometimes to be good and sometimes to be not? Do we expect that, during certain times of the year we don't have enough money, but other times of the year we have plenty? What do we expect? Do we expect that money multiplies? Right, the multiplication of money is beautiful because it's, again, representing the multiplication and the ever expandingness of God, endlessly pulsating, endlessly creating. We understand that life is constantly expressing, and as we see new beings coming to the planet, as we see new ideas come to the planet, as we see, I love to think about this, when you think about music, we have so many amazing genres of music. You would think that, we have enough. Right? But music continues to evolve. There's continuously new and more genres of music, because that's a reflection of God, that it continues to have these good ideas that it keeps manifesting into being through each and all of us. And so do we expect the same thing of money, right? That actually, in the same way, if my money is God informed, then it must multiply and evolve in the same way that God continues to multiply and evolve. It must pulsate in the same way that God continues to pulsate. It must ripple in the same way that God ripples and pours itself out. So I see the same thing and expect the same thing with my money. And then finally, scarcity versus abundance. Is there more than enough God for everybody? if the divine is everywhere, present at all times, or even as I spoke, we're talking about this idea of omnipresence today, but even as we think about the idea of omnipotence, which I talked about, God is not just omnipotent in the prayer, but God is omnipotent. So all the power there is in the universe to do anything, that is God manifested. The power that enables our heart to beat, the power that flows the blood through our veins, the power that allows us to stand and to walk, the power that is vibrating these vocal cords within my throat and causing sound to vibrate on the frequency of this field of life and through these microphones, and you all can hear me, right? All that power is God. And so as we understand that, then, is there more than enough? Are we living in scarcity, or are we living in abundance? If there is more than enough God, there has to be more than enough money, right? And this is why I love, here we're using a reasoning method, right? We're starting with an idea that may be easy for us to appreciate, right? As we've developed a God concept, as we've looked at our concept of God, then we can say, oh, wait, right, everything is an expression of God. Everything holds within itself the same DNA, the same qualities that we ascribe and assign to the all that is, to source, to the universe. And so if that is true, then it must be true of me. And if it's true of me, then the other effects, like money, it must also be true of them. And so this concept alone can make money your friend. This concept alone can change your ideas about money. We're gonna get into in a few minutes a little bit about the class and the book and all of that good stuff, and how the book supports us even more in doing that. But I'm remembering that the first time I read and studied Money Is My Friend, I had this realization, and it was it's rooted in this idea that I'm talking about, and it's rooted in the concept of I am and I have. I was studying this book, and I was feeling pretty low, because actually my bank account was low, right? And but yet I knew the truth that I am not this bank account balance. I knew the truth that says that I'm operating from a place of thought that is completely untrue, that I'm allowing my feeling nature to be affected by what I see, when in truth I must allow who I am to affect reality, affect what I see. And so I actually did the work, Byron Katie, the work, around this statement of I don't have enough money. And so going through that statement of I don't have enough money, one of the turnarounds that really rocked me and got me, just turned me on, was the I am enough. Because I came to the realization that really what this bank account balance was reflecting back to me were the thoughts that I was holding about myself of not being enough. And so I recognized that as soon as I shifted my reality and my understanding to I am enough, then I quickly also moved my understanding to I have enough. And as I began to affirm I am enough and I have enough, and sat with some of the principles in the book, then I was able to actually attract inspired ideas that then generated income. And it was very easy, but I didn't have access to those inspired ideas. What was so beautiful about the inspired ideas, I didn't have to do anything new. I didn't have to acquire a new skill. I didn't have to go out and buy anything. I didn't have to register anything. I didn't have to do anything except use what I had already had that was available to me when I was feeling low and feeling down and feeling down on myself. But because I was in that vibration and that consciousness, I did not have access to the divine idea that was here. And that translated into cash, that translated into money. And we're, in the class, I'll share even more stories and more ideas for those of you, and I see we have some of our 90 Days to Greatness folks here. You already know, right? In Master Manifestor this year, we had folks that manifested thousands of dollars easily and effortlessly using the power of mind and using these principles that I teach and that I constantly talk about. Over the years, so many of my clients have manifested the money to go on vacations, have manifested the money for their businesses, have increased their processes for the minutes. For the businesses. Hey, Cherie, we haven't gotten to that part yet. We'll get to it a little later. So, understanding the I am and the I have, right? That you have to understand that I am enough, and therefore you have enough. And it is only from the consciousness of having that you can then manifest the dollars and cents that you want. You can only manifest the thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions that you want. Because again, it's this consciousness of understanding that money and God are the same thing. And so all that is true of God must also be true of money. But recognizing when I say money and God are the same thing, I'm not saying that money is God, that money is the deity. What I'm saying is that money is a reflection of God. Just as we affirm that for ourselves, we must affirm that same thing for money, because money is just an effect. It's not a real thing, right? But it is another expression of God. It is God in form. And so all of those things are absolutely true. Yes, Rabia, right. She manifested close to $12,000 in Master Manifestor, right? It speaks for itself. She did the work. She locked in. And I know that you're going to do some powerful work in this next class. It's going to be great. Now, the other thing that I love to talk about when we're thinking about shifting and changing our experience with money, or for those of you, if you're having trouble manifesting money and want to manifest money, you got to understand this relationship between God and money. You got to understand this idea of God being omnipresence, being everywhere and everything, right? And then also, yes, $11,000, Cherie, again, shout it out for those in 90 Days of Greatness that are here, because it's real, and money is our friend. The other thing that's very important is gratitude, right? Now, I know you all have heard this a million times. Oh, you got to be grateful, gratitude, attitude of gratitude, right? I know, like, you hear this all the time, but I want us to really understand, what this is all about. As I love to say that forgiveness is a success principle, gratitude is a success principle. There is no one that you will talk to. So grateful, had an awesome time spending time with Les Brown and Reverend Michael Beckwith and Reverend Sheila McKeithen and so many other powerful metaphysicians and truth teachers and truth students, right? Everybody says this, right? That you got to tap into this gratitude thing. And but I don't think we understand it. Now, some of you may have heard the message. I invite you to go to YouTube later. I'll post the link in here later in the comments. A message I gave called Gratitude Ninja, because this is what I want everyone to become, is a gratitude ninja. And there's 7 principles that I outline in that message around gratitude. I just want to give you a little bit of each one, and you can go back to the message to hear it, to understand why we got to use this success principle of gratitude. So the first thing is gratitude starts where you are. Now, why is that important? Well, it kind of goes back to the story that I was just telling when I was feeling low and feeling down, and I had to use a principle. I had to use a tool from right where I was, right? There was nothing else that was going to help me. There was nothing outside of me that was going to help me. And so what I love about gratitude is, and we talked about this recently as well, the teaching is not for all things give thanks, but in all things give thanks. And so even in the midst of an unwanted situation, there are things that you can find to be grateful for. One of the first and easiest things is breathe in, breathe out, and really think about the breath. Think about the abundance of breath. Think about the billions of people that are on here, and as you consciously chose to breathe in, you were not worried that there would not be enough for you or for someone else, right? And as we're talking about abundance versus scarcity, this is very important. So gratitude starts right where you are. Find the thing where you are. It doesn't have to be profound, but it has to be specific, right? You can be grateful for gravity. If you think about what life would be like without gravity, and I'm not talking about the cool floating space without gravity, but if you're inside of a building and gravity disappeared, you would fly up and bust your head on the ceiling, right? So let's be grateful for gravity right here and right now, right? Starts where you are. Now, the other thing I know is that gratitude creates prosperity. And so as we're talking about making money our friend, as we're talking about manifesting money and developing this new relationship, you do not get to prosperity in every area of your life without gratitude. And so this is why for many of us, if you're in the gratitude group, we post our gratitudes, 3 gratitudes every day, right? And start with this idea, this understanding that something wonderful, something amazingly awesome, as we got from Pam Grout, is happening today. It's happening for me. It's happening through me. We name it. We claim it. We expect it. We believe it. We receive it. Gratitude attracts what you want. Now, why do we know that? Because what you focus on expands, right? And so as you begin to focus on the things that you can find to be grateful for right here and right now, it starts to shift and change your vibration. It starts to shift and change your expectation. It starts to shift and change. Just as I got to that place of shifting to I am enough and I have enough, it shifted and changed me so that then I could attract an inspired idea, which then changed my financial situation. Gratitude is easy. You don't need a college degree to do it. You don't need a high school diploma to do it. You don't need to go to school to do it at all. You simply need to be an aware, awake, alive human being, and you can find something to be grateful for. There's no being on the planet that does not express gratitude. I would go as far as to say that I believe that when the birds sing, they are singing gratitude, and when the trees sway, they are swaying in gratitude, and when the oceans swell, they are swelling in gratitude. There is no living thing, no expression that is not expressing gratitude. Now, gratitude changes you. It doesn't change God. It doesn't change money, but it changes you because it changes your vibration that then makes you a different vibrational match for that which it is that you desire. It changes you. It also changes others. But when I say it changes others because it changes your perception of others. How you see them changes. One of the things I love is the Book of Positive Aspects. It's one of the processes from Abraham Hicks. I come to it often. I was just talking to Pastor Yolanda the other day saying I realized there's some things that I had stopped doing my Book of Positive Aspects around, being gratitude around, and so now it's not looking the way I want it to look. And so I recognize that as soon as I bring my gratitude back, as soon as I do the positive aspects and say, what do I like about you? What do I love about you? What are your positive aspects? And bring my mind and my attention to that on a daily basis, so then it changes others. It changes the external world, but it changes them because I changed me, because I put my attention on what was good. I put my attention on what was working. I put my attention on what I love. And so then that's all I can attract. That's the only thing that can be in my experience. And then finally, gratitude is like a ninja. Why do I say it's like a ninja? Because ninjas are cool. Ninjas are stealthy. Ninjas work in the background. You don't see what they're doing. And you'll get hit by a ninja before you realize what's even happened. Ninjas can sneak into buildings. Ninjas can climb and scale buildings easily and effortlessly with very little equipment. And so this is what we want operating on our behalf. Gratitude is like a ninja operating in the same way, orchestrating life for us and orchestrating and bringing to us the things that we want because we're operating in this place and space of gratitude. Again, I'm going to share the link to this message, but I think it's very important that we understand that gratitude is equally important. Yes, we have to have a different understanding of who and what God is, that God is omnipresence. And because God is omnipresence, everyone and everything, then that means that all manifested reality contains the same qualities as God. And so we recognize that money is a manifestation. It's not a thing, it's an effect, right? It's not a cause, it is a thing, it's not a cause. And so as we recognize that it's an effect, all effects carry within it the same qualities of source. So that means that the effect of money is eternal. The effect that we call money is unlimited. The effect that we call money loves us unconditionally. The effect that we call money is everywhere present. The effect that we call money is within us. The effect that we call money we are one with. The effect that we call money we have now. The effect that we call money reflects and is and possesses the very same attributes of God. So when we understand that, then we also got to marry that with gratitude. But understanding what gratitude is, right? Understanding that it's a success principle. Understanding that it's something we must do deliberately and with discipline every day because we understand its effects, right? And specifically, anytime, as I said, it changes you and it changes others. And so as we take the time to look at even the things that seem unwanted or the things that seem to not be working out, if we ask that question, what do I like about you? What do I love about you? And if there's only 3 things that you can write about that person, place, or thing every day, continue to do that. Because by law, the law of attraction, as you have one thought about something, you must attract other thoughts that match that. That's why when you complain about something, one thing, you can find other things to complain about. Law of attraction at work. So it works on either side, but let's use it for the gratitude, right? Let's use it in that same way. Hey, Gabby, what's up? Good to see you. So in order to make money our friend, we may need some help. Because if we're not manifesting the dollars that we want, if we're not manifesting the cash that we want, if it's not flowing the way that we want, if we're feeling lack, if we're feeling scarcity, if we're feeling like I was, as I talked about earlier, I was feeling low because my bank account was low, and my thought was I don't have enough money, which is a lie, right? I don't have enough money. If that's a thought that you have right now, it's a lie. Because it's the same thing like saying, I don't have enough God, and that would be a lie, right? And so when you recognize that, oh, wait, this is a lie, I got to bring myself back to truth. I realize I believe this lie. I realize I believe it because I feel it. I was feeling low. I was feeling down. I was feeling sad. I was judging myself. I was feeling ashamed. I was feeling guilty. But I knew it was a lie. So I had to use a tool, and I used the work in that case to get myself out of that lie, get myself back to truth. And when I got to truth, then I attracted an inspired idea that proved the truth that I do have enough money and money is coming to me easily and effortlessly. So I love and always talk about invoking what I call the McKinsey method, the McKinsey principle, which is inspired by my brother Rodney McKinsey. And what it essentially says at its base level is don't do it alone. Because when we're trying to change something in our lives and trying to change an experience, like it can sound good, yeah, Pastor Greg, it's a lie, I don't have enough money. I get it, that's spiritual, blah, blah, blah. But I just looked at my bank account again, and yeah, the number hasn't changed, right? I still can't pay that bill I need to pay tomorrow or next week, right? I still am trying to figure out how I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get to the end of the month. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get to next month, right? So all of that's true. And so I love to think about a concept that I learned from the book Change or Die. That in order to make change, there are 3 things that are needed. And these are 3 things that I want to provide, right? Now first, well, the 3 things, let me just say, we need to relate, repeat, and reframe. Now, relate, what that means is you have to develop a relationship with a person or community that inspires hope, right? You have to be in a place that's saying that, yeah, I see where you are, but this can change, right? I'm saying, right, that I've been in a situation where I didn't have enough money and changed my story and manifested money. I'm saying that I've been in a situation where, for those of you in 90 Days to Greatness, I think it was Master Manifestor, I talked about this, that there was something that I wanted to create. I did not have any money needed to create this, and I needed thousands of dollars. And by doing the work, I easily and effortlessly attracted, unexpectedly, $10,000, right? I know this happens. Pastor Yolanda and I, we've talked about it all the time. Money comes easily and effortlessly, and when CSC, whatever we need to accomplish the work and the goals and the mission and vision of CSC, it comes easily and effortlessly, and we've manifested thousands of dollars like that, standing in the knowingness, using the power of affirmative prayer, using the power of these tools that we're talking about. So you need to be able to relate and connect and be in community with somebody that's doing that. You've already seen, for those of you that are just joining us, you're seeing us in the comments. $11,000 manifested, $12,000 manifested. This is in 12 weeks we did this work. And in truth, and it's still going, and it's still going, and it's still going. So you want to be in a community that inspires hope. Relate, that's the first thing. The next is repeat. You have to be in a space and a place that allows you to continue to repeat the practices until you get good at it. It allows you to make mistakes, right? And so this is why you just can't take the book. The book, Money is My Friend, which we'll get into. This is the book right here. It's a thin book. You can read it in a day. The first time I read it in a day, right? But you got to be able to repeat it. You got to come back to it over and over again. And there's so many wonderful exercises and affirmations in here, things that you want to practice and repeat. So you need to be in an environment that gives space for that. That's what we do. We come together each Monday night. That's what we do. Meeting weekly, and then having the reinforcements where we can check in with each other in the Facebook group. And then, of course, I'll continue to send other things to you. And then finally, reframe. You need to be in a space and place that is encouraging you and helping you to reframe whatever your current story, patterns, beliefs, or conditions are. And so this is what we get. This is what we get to do in 90 Days to Greatness and Money is My Friend over these next 6 weeks. We're constantly going to be reframing these old stories. Just as I reframed, I don't have enough, to I am enough and I have enough, and lived and embodied that, and so attracted the results of that thinking. So each and every one of you that choose to be a part of this class will do the same thing. So let's talk about 90 Days to Greatness. 90 Days to Greatness it's a program that we've been doing for the last 4 years. This year I've expanded it so that we're doing a different theme each quarter. We just finished Healthy Mind, Healthy Body. Powerful, 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 wonderful manifestations, powerful healings, things that are deemed incurable have been cured, right? And so it's wonderful. You got to wait for next year to get into that. But we continue this work, and we continue this vibration, and we continue to build. And so what we're going to do is study this book and this edition of Money is My Friend by Phil Laut, L-A-U-T, right? As I said, it's a very short book, but it's filled with great tools and information. One of the things that I've shared with many of you, and something that I do on a daily basis, is expand my affirmations by speaking in the first, second, and third person. So I speak about myself, I speak to myself, and I speak from myself. So I am prosperous. Greg is prosperous. Greg, you are prosperous. And Gregory Stamper Jr. is prosperous, right? It does something on the cellular level, the DNA level. It's awesome. In this book, you get a lot of powerful money affirmations, ways to think about money. The other thing that happens with this book is you're going to develop a sense of understanding how to sell and promote yourself. Because one of the things that really happens is we don't understand our value, and we don't understand that we're valuable, right? And so we get to learn how to promote ourselves so that we can then attract the money that we are. See, and this is what I love. James Altucher talks about this, that ideas are currency, right? Les Brown talked about the same thing when we were listening to him the other day. The first place I came in contact with that was through James Altucher. He has this powerful idea about being an idea machine. And so when we understand that ideas are currency, and we're really living in the age of intellectual capital, we understand that who you are is where the value is, and who you are can and always be monetized. And so you go through exercises, some wonderful exercises, to understand what you already possess. Again, I am enough, I have enough. And once you come to the understanding that, oh wait, I actually do possess enough, that all of these things can be shifted and changed and transmuted into dollars and cents, your life changes. And here's the other thing that's beautiful. You're not going to be out there flying in the wind, right? Many of these things I've already done. So if you might have specific questions of, oh, well, how do I set up PayPal to do this? Or, oh, should I use Square? Or should I use that, right? we can answer those questions. I can answer those questions. There are people in the group that can answer those questions, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can be pointed directly in the right thing to begin to attract money into your bank account, because again, you're recognizing that you are the very thing that you seek. The other thing that we're going to do, we're going to order the Money and Law of Attraction cards from Esther and Jerry Hicks, aka Abraham, right? Because these cards are wonderful to, you pull a card daily, and it gives you a thought, it gives you an idea, something to hold on to and something to marinate on throughout the day related to money from the principles of the law of attraction. Very cool, very necessary. The third thing we're going to do is play the prosperity money game. I know that many of you have played this game, and it's beautiful. It's actually something that was originated as an idea through Abraham Hicks, and it's one of the processes in Asking It Is Given. What happens in the prosperity money game is you will be given a specific amount of money and given 48 hours to spend this money. It's from the Bank of the Universe. It's vibrational. And so you'll start out with $1,000. You got to spend that money. And it continues to go up, and it continues to go up. Every 48 hours, you get a new check, new money, and you have to spend it in consciousness, right? And what we're going to do, we're going to create Pinterest boards so that everything that you buy in consciousness, you're going to put it in that Pinterest board so you can see it. For those of you that want to do something visual, you can then put all of those things on your prosperity money game vision board. There's a couple things that are happening when you do that. First, you're getting yourself into the vibration of having and also circulating and having and circulating and having and circulating, and getting yourself into the expectation of money coming in. And so you're not worried about, oh no, I can't spend this because I don't know where the next is coming from. But also what begins to happen, and this continuously is my experience, every time I play this game, all the things that I put in my vibrational spending account, I look back a year later or even months later and realize that I've attracted all of these things. Because many times what we do when we're spending money like this, we're spending money on things that we would love to have, or think we can't afford, or think it may be frivolous for us to do that. And what I began to find is that many of the things that I would put in my vibrational account, thinking that I didn't have the money to afford it, I would look and say, oh wait, I do have the money, or the money would show up and I would buy it, and what's interesting, I wouldn't make the connection until later, like, oh wait, I have almost everything in this list already. And so that's what we're going to do with the prosperity money game. It's a powerful tool. It works, it works, it works. If you have Asking It Is Given, you can look at the process. For those of you that are taking the class, we're going to talk through how the process works. Now, when does class happen? Class happens on Monday nights. Monday is the 90 Days to Greatness night. It's 7:30 p.m. every Monday night, and this class is going to be for 6 weeks. So it's online, it's Zoom, it's video, we connect, we have folks from all over the country. I think we're going to have some international folks this time around. So it's just one beautiful family. We come together. I'll be guiding some discussions around the book and different lessons and exercises that we're going to do. And we prosper, right? It's really that simple. We make money our friend. And so registration, I actually expanded the registration. Registration closes on Monday, this coming Monday, August 6th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, okay? So if you're on the West Coast, that means that would be 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if there's something going on and you're waiting for a deposit to hit, like that's still Monday morning, that can happen. For those of you that are interested in registering, and I'll have to post this in actually, let me post this in the comments now, and I'll give you the link. It is celebrationsc.org. Type it here right now. Oh, that's not going to work. celebrationSC.org/90DTG, as in Days to Greatness, -money. All right. There's the link. So use that link. You'll see there's more information. It is $197 for the 6 weeks. One price. Many times we have different levels. It's a 6-week class, so I just slashed it to $197. It's a huge deal. 12-week class is usually a little more, and it's of course worth it for the 12-week class. $197 for the 6-week class. We already have a bunch of people registered, right? I think we have at least 20 people registered right now, and I'm gonna keep it open. I'm gonna keep it open because I want as many people as possible to take advantage of this. So we have time. We still have plenty of time, and I want to know if we have any questions. Cherie, I see your post there. So your question is answered. You'll be back by then. Yay, awesome. Just make sure you register and get that in. If anyone has any questions about what we've talked about, again, because it can be a radical concept to talk about money in this way, but I believe it's the only way that we can truly understand and live in abundance. I'm happy to answer your questions, and I'll just give it a few minutes. Otherwise, I just look forward to seeing you all with me for these next 6 weeks. Yes, it's 6 weeks on Khalid for starting on Monday, and the next 6 Mondays. We will go in because again, really the reading is easy and quick, and you're gonna want to keep moving ahead. So we're gonna kind of digest the book quickly and then go back through the exercises because there's so many different exercises within the book. Yep, 6 weeks. For those of you who joined us a little later, would love to see and know where you're checking us out from. Yeah, oh yes, thank you for asking that, Aunt Khalid. So after you register, you should get an email. There's an automatic email that you'll get that gives you a link to the Getting Started page. On the Getting Started page, you'll have the links to buy the book and to buy the Law of Attraction cards. It's okay if you don't, because many people will not have the book on Monday, and that's fine, right? Just make sure you order it as soon as possible so that you can get the first part of the reading done before the following Monday. What time does class end? Right, we go 7:30 to 9 p.m. And as you know, Gabby, sometimes it goes a little over if it gets good, but I respect your time, and so I want to make sure that everybody can still enjoy the rest of their evening and get prepared for whatever else is going on for the rest of the week. So 7:30 to 9 p.m. Yeah, Anna, I'm seeing your comment. How do you start? The URL is there, celebrationsc.org/90DTG, Days to Greatness -money. Yes, it is interactive. We'll be using Zoom, so we won't be using this platform. It's not Facebook Live. In that first email, you'll also receive the information on the Zoom call, right, which is private. We'll all be together on video. You can use your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer. And so, yeah, we get to interact, we get to talk, and we get to know each other, which is very important. And then also, everyone who joins the group will also, or joins the class, will also then be added to the exclusive 90 Days to Greatness Mastermind group. And so we interact there on Facebook as well. And again, that's a private group. Only those who are part of 90 Days to Greatness get access to that. And that's lifetime access. That's lifetime access. Any other questions? Thank you all for being here and connected with me on a Saturday. And please, if you know someone who can receive and appreciate this teaching, these ideas, share it. Let them know that this class is going on. Let them know it's open and available to anybody, right? Everybody, of course, wants money, and I'm sure everyone would love to make money their friend. So by all means, feel free to share this video. I'm going to be posting this, and we'll send it out to the CSC mailing list for our 90 Days of Greatness folks. I'm going to share this in the group, so you can watch this in the group as well. And I think we might pop this up on YouTube as well. I think that'll be good. So there'll be plenty of ways to share it. Most importantly, remember, you got to sign up by noon on Monday, okay? Because there's some things I want to make sure everybody has all the information and everybody's set up. So we need to have that time to do that. I can't extend it beyond noon. Thank you, Aunt Khalid. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. All right, everybody. Any other questions, post in the comments. I'll be checking in. You know, I keep my phone close, and I'm happy to answer it. Love you all. Happy Saturday. For those that I'll see tomorrow at CSC, looking forward to seeing you. We got a good month ahead of us. All right. Be well. Bye for now.